And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your Tar Heels. And of course, I am also the lead beat writer for Tar Heels on SI. So thanks so much for watching the video. And we're going to get right into it. And of course, I think the big story of today, and really one of a few, right? I mean, there's a few, right? Actually, and we're going to go through over a few. Okay, so for starters, Luka Bogavac is still, well, he was cleared by the NCAA. He was reinstated by the NCAA. However, internally at UNC, he is not cleared. And I know it sounds really confusing for a lot of people. It's still confusing now for me. If you think I'm confused, there's a lot of people on this beat that are also confused as well. And quite frankly, even UNC themselves are kind of confused. And it really stems from the fact that this is kind of what I've heard, right? It's simply that when he first got to UNC, they listed him as a freshman. But then he was ruled as freshman. However, they didn't realize that he had taken college courses for about a year or two over in Europe. And so that's why on the roster, he went from being a freshman to being a junior. And that's kind of where it stems from. Just the difficulties with the transcript, what carries over, what doesn't. You thought it was clear, but apparently it hasn't. And usually the NC clearance is, of course, is usually a 4-month process, but it's already been done. It's just one of those things where, it's just like anything academic related. It's just more of they got to get everything clear, and they've got to make sure he's all ready to go. Even though the NCAA cleared, UNC found some stuff that could affect him in the long run. And I'm just speculating. I'm not sure if it is a transcript issue. I don't know what it is. But it could be multiple things, right? And UNC, I think at the moment, is just trying to make sure they're A-okay because you don't want the NCAA kind of breathing down your neck. I think that's what it is. I don't think he's a dumb guy. I don't think he's academically knowledgeable or stuff like that. I just think it's just the difficulty of his transcript going over from Europe to America, right? Because not everyone has the same education system. Even different states have different ways of teaching their kids. So it's just one of those things. So I want to get an update on that. So that's the one update. The second update, of course, is that there are 3 players leaving North Carolina's football team. 2 of them you've heard of, right? Bryce Yates and William Boone. Bryce Yates, of course, was a highly coveted defensive end prospect out of the transfer portal and really was, really, in my opinion, coming in was one of the better players they got in the transfer portal and really could have had a huge impact on this defense considering his pass rushing abilities. And, of course, right now, if there's one thing that Carolina football needs is another edge rusher because they've really struggled getting after the quarterback this year. However, during fall camp, he suffered a concussion, and he was out for the first few games. He was able to play a significant amount of snaps at Clemson. He actually picked up 3 tackles in that game. However, it was he didn't make the trip to California. That led to questions. Of course, we all found out that he has left the team. The second player of note that left UNC is William Boone. William Boone actually started at left tackle for North Carolina for the first 2 or 3 games of the season, but he has not played since the Richmond game, which is the game he got hurt. And we found out yesterday as well, or last night, that he is no longer on the team. His agent announced on Twitter that he will be seeking a medical redshirt, so he will get 2 years of eligibility. He had 2 years of eligibility coming to North Carolina, but they're trying to get the medical register so that way you get 2 years of eligibility. And to be fair to William Boone, I just want to say this: like, if you have to understand where he came from. He transferred to UNC from Prairie View A&M. That is an FCS school. That is a HBCU, right, in Texas. I believe it's in Central Texas somewhere. I believe not that far from. Actually, I think it might be right outside Houston. So I mean, it's in Texas. Let me double check that to make sure where it's at technically. Prairie View is right outside Houston. I would say so it'd be northwest of Houston. And so he came from that small school to starting 3 games in North Carolina. So it makes sense for him to enter the transfer portal and get a medical register because you have 2 years of eligibility, and the fact that you start 3 games in North Carolina and really was good at North Carolina. He's still the highest rated offensive lineman for North Carolina, and so shockingly enough. And he started. It's not like he played scrub minutes. He actually started for North Carolina, and so that shows you kind of what kind of player he is. The fact that he was able to play well for even though it's 3 games and 2 of those games were against Richmond and Charlotte, there is still film of him playing on the offensive line at a Power 4 school, and that will be proven valuable because you already know a lot of people are going to be looking for offensive linemen. They will be. And offensive line, the thing is, the better the offensive line, the better your team is, the more games you'll win. I mean, it's just statistically proven. It really is. So, I think so. William Boone will definitely be in service for a school and I can guarantee you that just because, like what I just said, a lot of teams will be looking for an offensive lineman because there's plenty of offensive linemen, and he just happens to play left tackle. And William Boone, of course, is so he's actually second behind Chad Lindbergh. But he's the second highest rated offensive lineman on UNC's team. He also has the second highest pass block grade on UNC. He's got the second best pass block grade with an 81.3. His run block is a 65.3, which is third behind Chad Lindbergh and Travion Green, who also left the team last month. So he's put up solid numbers. All those grades were according to the PFF, and there's a third player, of course, Chachere Smith, who is a freshman tight end. And by the way, none of those guys played 4 games. So more than 4 games. So all of them could leave the team in redshirt. So that's why you see all these players leaving. You got to understand this too. And if you're a North Carolina fan. A lot of these players are getting some decent money. Not like millions, but they're getting more money than the typical college student, right? And so when you're dealing with that, you got to look for another opportunity, especially if you're not seeing the field. Especially a guy like Price Yates, who was a highly coveted guy out of the transfer portal, right? He just hasn't been healthy. And then, of course, as I mentioned, William Boone, who started 3 games for Carolina. So that film could be valuable. And you already know that there's going to be kind of a bidding, not like a massive bidding war when you're talking about millions of dollars, but let's say somebody will offer $120,000. Another school will offer $140,000. Another school will offer $150,000. So you're probably going to make thousands of dollars to play college football. So, and also you're probably not going to see the field for the rest of the year. And on top of that, you could get granted a medical redshirt and you get 2 more years of eligibility. So there's that. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great rest of your day.